From the Good News Broadcasting Studio headquarters here in Nairobi, my name is Gideon Moi, and this is The Insight, where we give you an elaborate elucidation of things that are happening at the political scene and current affairs as well. And of course, in doing this, we bring on board the various stakeholders who help us in discussing all these issues that are happening in the political sphere. Well, today we would like to talk about many things as well on the political scene. And you see, Shakespeare, in one of his many sonnets, wrote, and I quote, that all the world's a stage, and all men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many roles. So is the political scene of Kenya, nearing another transition period, nearly 10 months to the next general elections, where new dancers and players in the political stage are expected to audition for various positions. At the backdrop of all this, there's a lot that is happening in the preparation for the transition. So tonight we explore the politics at play as Kenyans and other stakeholders are also preparing for this. We look at IEBC's preparation to hold credible elections. We also ask you tonight, has Raila managed to climb the mountain? Another question that is going to be answered on the bench tonight. Gideon Moi has launched his presidential bid 2022 with Mudavadi, Kalonzo and Raila in attendance. Does it have a political significance? The embattled former IEBC CEO Ezra Chiloba has been appointed as the new Director General at the Communications Authority of Kenya. Is it a mere coincidence that is happening at such a time that there is a political significance of the appointment? Well, this, together with much more, is going to be discussed here tonight on The Insight with my guests. And my first guest on the bench tonight is Mundalo Advice. Mundalo Advice is a communication strategist, communication and political strategist. And he is here with me in the show tonight. We also have Mr. Eric Naibei. Mr. Eric Naibei is an advocate of the High Court and a political commentator. And Mr. Naibei is not new to the show. So welcome so much, gentlemen, for the show tonight. And thank you so much. So for those who are back at home, well, you can join in the show, in the conversation with us using our SMS line, that is 21144. You can also get us on our various social media platforms. That is at GBS TV Africa, at Gideon Moi. And that is where you get to talk with us, to have a conversation with us, even as we discuss all of this. We are a few months to the next year's general elections, and there have been a recent cabinet mini reshuffle, transfer of factions, and what do you think about this? If I could start with you, Mr. Eric Naibei, does it have any political significance at this time, at such a time, when we are heading towards 2022, around only 10 months to the transition period?
Thank you, Eugene. Well, in my opinion, the cabinet reshuffle that was done yesterday doesn't have a huge political significance, considering that the president reshuffled the cabinet, only affecting three ministries, and there are no new appointments. It was just about tilting them around such that if you looked at a communique that came from the public service chair, it said that the purpose of the reshuffle was to enhance performance and to assist the president in implementing his vision. So I don't think it has any political impact, considering that he's not removing anybody. He's just changing them. And I think there could be internal issues which have informed the decision. Politically, it would make sense if, for instance, he was kicking out some and bringing in new entrants, maybe new CSS from outside.
Mr. Mundalo, well, we have Mr. Eugene Wamalwa being placed at the Defense Ministry, and it is people are saying that perhaps this could be maybe a sign or maybe something that is showing that is preparing for a transition, maybe to give it to someone, is preparing for the succession politics. Does it have any significance?
First of all, Eugene, thank you so much for having me at GBS. I think this is my very premier time coming onto the station.
Yes.
Now, onto your question, there will never be a cabinet reshuffle that will not have an impact. And every time there is a reshuffle, you'll always be told it is to smoothen government operation. That is always every other time, that is always the reason. But you have to look at it holistically.
Yes.
Cabinet positions are not equal. The equality is only in the mention of the word that I am a cabinet secretary and you are also a cabinet secretary. But I might be a cabinet secretary who is controlling 48 parastatals, but you are a cabinet secretary who controls 3. Now, when you look at this reshuffle here, the president is simply taking the chunk of the meat of the government where he is sure. Because when he is unsure with you as a cabinet secretary, he is reducing your mandate. When you look at Chelugui, who is being taken to devolution, I think.
Yes.
When he's being taken to devolution, devolution has a 3 billion budget. And Eugene is being taken to defense that has a 66 billion budget. So both these people are cabinet secretaries, yes, but you can see how it is. We are heading towards election time.
Yes.
The president must be sure about the security of the country.
Yes.
The president must be sure about defense. He cannot be able to juggle with the defense of the country.
Okay.
And that's why he's taking the people that he is absolutely sure about,
Yes.
where his interests are major. When you look at the other reshuffle where one of the departments was taken from another ministry, a 30 billion department, and added onto another ministry. That is not something small.
Okay.
That is huge. So the whole reason why this reshuffle, if you ask me, was being made is purely because of the election of 2022. The president is simply getting his craft in order. The president is simply saying that I want things to go this direction,
Yes.
and I am assuring anybody that I have a commitment to do it. I also would want to even believe that the president is actually under pressure to do some of these things.
Okay.
Because the lieutenants in ODM must be assured that this president is not just about to pull a back on them. So he has to do some of these things for them to be so sure that we are heading the right direction. So to me, the cabinet reshuffle was purely political, purely towards 2022, and not just the reshuffle. You look at most of the things that have happened in recent time.
Yes.
They point towards one direction, and that direction is the election.
Okay, now, Mr. Naibei, well, let me ask you, speaking about 2022's general election, do you think that IEBC is ready to deliver free and fair, a credible election, even as we're heading towards 2022? Because we have had the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, saying that the government has even slashed their budget, and the communication, they're blaming the communication authority for not for lack of a 3G network across the country. We also have them asking the legislators for not passing legislations that will effectively enhance their them for holding a free and credible election. What do you think about this? Is Kenya really prepared for a credible elections? Yes.
Thank you, Eugene. Before I answer that, let me say something about cabinet reshuffle. If the president really intended to make it to make it look political, he would have done it by, for instance, completely removing the CSS he has no faith in. For instance, he has mentioned Chelugui,
Yes.
or maybe those who are allied to Ruto politically. But the fact that he's doing it piecemeal, or I can say he's doing it indirectly, still says that maybe the intention is to ensure that, as he said, whoever he entrusts with resources is capable of doing what he wants. Otherwise, about IEBC, I think we are prepared. The only challenge we still have is that IEBC gave a budget of 40 billion. They needed 40 billion. And Parliament allocated 20 or 26 billion, if I'm not wrong. So I think we still have a problem. I don't know whether IEBC will have to cut down some operations, how they will be able to maneuver with 26 billion against a budget of 40 billion. And then there are things that IEBC has been doing that Parliament and the executive has still continued to sabotage. For instance, IEBC prepared regulations that were supposed to guide campaign financing from last year until this year. Then Parliament rubbished them, saying that they were done beyond the timelines required, yet they were the ones to approve. And so at the moment, we are going to 2022 without those regulations that were meant to guide campaign financing. In terms of constitution of IEBC, I think on that aspect we are prepared. We now have commissioners, enough commissioners. We have a secretariat. I think it should be substantive, and I think strategically and even in terms of the internal organization, IEBC should be able to conduct elections next year.
Yes.
About other challenges, including issues of network, the CCK issue, you said that they have complained about Communication Authority not being able to provide networks. I think that is a general challenge that every other Kenyan is experiencing.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think compared to 2017 and 2013, it looks like we have faith in IEBC from both political factions. All political factions seem to have some faith in IEBC. Raila Odinga is no longer calling for reforms in the IEBC. He's now focused in campaigning. At the same time, William Ruto looks like he doesn't have issues with IEBC. The same to all the other political contenders. So I think this time round, we may not have a situation where a certain faction is complaining about the electoral body. We will see people campaigning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Mundalo, Mr. Eric Naibe, you've just heard what he's saying. He's saying that this time, seemingly, both political players, major presidential contenders, that is Ruto, Raila, and the rest, have faith in IEBC, and they believe that they're going to hold a credible, free and fair elections. What do you think about this? Are Kenyans, despite all these complaints from the IEBC, do we still expect a credible elections 2022?
I think about whether the contenders have trust in the IEBC is something we cannot really justify 100% because they have not actually come out themselves to say that they believe in IEBC to hold a free and fair election. But again, IEBC should help us trust them because they cannot be able to spend most of their time complaining than spending most of their time getting things in order. For example, like what you mentioned about the 3G network, that is something we expect IEBC to sit down with CA and get that sorted. When they do it through a press conference or through a press memo, how does it then help? IEBC should be able to stand in a position where it helps the common mwananchi believe them. It is not about them being trusted by the contenders of the election. It's about them being trusted by the voter. The question should be, does the voter have trust in the IEBC? But when you look at the way the IEBC is, yes, as Ibe puts it, they have been able to have commissioners now. They are trying to constitute it. But do they look like they have even a demeanor that looks like these guys can be able to hold a free and fair election? Because we trust you even in the first go just by how you look. We always say first impression matters a lot. When IEBC commissioners come together to hold a press conference, when you look at them, do you see a free and fair election? When you look at Chebukati speaking to the media, do you see a free and fair election? When you look at these guys when they come together, are you able to see a free and fair election? That is where the IEBC should begin. And as we stand today, remember the IEBC is not a body that only comes up during election. It's been there. The last 5 years, what is the track record of IEBC? What have they been doing? How have they engaged the voter? How have they improved their legitimacy to the voter? That they have been out here speaking to the voter, doing sensitization to a level that we would trust them. Have they been doing that? If they have not been, if the answer is no, then there is no way the common people are just going to wake up on 22nd of August 2022 and then, alas, we are now trusting the IEBC. It's not going to happen. So the good thing is there is time. The IEBC should try and focus more on making themselves believable, not just to the people who are aspiring, but to the common mwananchi. That anyone seated anywhere in Turkana, in Kwale, can be able to say, even if Raila comes up and says, I don't trust these results, the common person can say, no, I think those things were fair.
Okay.
That is what they should be working
So,
towards.
so from where you sit personally, Mr. Mundalo, from what you've just said, do you think that we can prepare, we can now say that Kenya is moving towards, we will not experience what we saw in 2007, 2013, 2017 again in 2022?
What I can say is that I wish that Kenya experiences something different in 2022.
Yes.
That I wish that there will be a credible election.
Yes.
That I wish that the results that will be transmitted will be the real results. But I cannot be able to speak for the IEBC that
Yes.
they will be able to achieve that. Because first of all, their demeanor alone
Yes.
is not good enough. It does not give me assurance enough. You know, Eugene, even when children are going to fight,
Yes.
and a child has to go home and be confident enough
Yes.
that when he reports to the father can come and beat the other one.
Yes.
The child also looks at the father, then he does his own measurement.
Yes.
When you trust your father more,
Yes.
you threaten others more.
Yes.
But if you have a weaker father,
Yes.
you go back early.
Okay.
Eugene,
Yes.
can I add maybe that I think IEBC has done enough to prove that it can conduct credible elections. Look at the by-elections that we have had from 2018. IEBC has been hailed, it has been praised for conducting them in a relatively free and fair manner. If it tries to replicate the same style in the general elections, I think we are good to go. I don't know whether we can be able to gauge and be able to trust IEBC by the way in which the commissioners look like, but I think we just have to have faith in them.
Okay.
And push them to conduct free and fair elections.
Well, as Kenya is even preparing for general elections, that is 2022, we have Ezra Chiloba, the guy, the embattled CEO of, former CEO of IEBC, is back in the scenes, in the political scenes. Actually, this time as the Director General of CAK, that is Communications Authority of Kenya. What do you think about this? Is it a mere coincidence? Is this a mere coincidence, or is there a political significance of this more so at this time? Well, let me start with you, Mr. Mundala.
Of course, as I said earlier,
Yes.
almost everything that is being done now has a political inclination.
Okay.
You look at this and you look at what is the role of CA in election. CA is the one that transmits results. Yeah. So of course there is something political about it. But be that as it may, I have no problem with the appointment of Ezra Chiloba as Director General for the authority, because in as much as we have had a lot of bashing online, but I look at the qualification of the guy and I feel he fits the bill. I feel in his time as the CEO of IEBC, I think he did his work quite well. Actually, I tend to think that he actually saved this country, because a time comes when someone must stand in defense of something that is happening as a leader. And when you remember very well in 2017, we got to a point where the chairman was very shaky. The chairman at some point we could be neither here nor there. But in as much as the heat, you know, when you have these offices, sometimes it can be very heated up. It calls for someone to really come up and stand and be able to conduct something to its absolute end. So to me, I think I give him credit for that, that he led this process to the end and ensured that whatever IEBC was able to deliver, he stood by it to the ultimate end. So to me, I think he fits the bill. I look at the qualification of the guy. Plus, he's one of the young people in this country. So the more we entrust some of this leadership to the younger people, I think the more we get an opportunity also to just try something else. So I don't think I have a problem with his appointment at CA.
Mr. Naibei, the current, the DG, the appointment of Ezra Chiloba as the Director General of Communications Authority. What do you think about it, having in mind that he was involved in controversies in the IEBC elections, the previous election, that is in 2017? What do you think about it? Does it not taint even the image of the president himself, appointing someone who was involved in controversial election and in controversial elections?
Well, I agree with those who are saying that his appointment speaks a lot in terms of what the president and the system will be trying to communicate.
Yes.
You remember in 2017, the election was nullified. IEBC was directed to open servers by the Supreme Court. IEBC declined. under the leadership of
Ezra Chiloba.
Ezra Chiloba. The same Ezra Chiloba later on would resign, citing frustrations with the chairman. Now we are seeing him being elevated to such a very powerful position towards 2022. I think, in my opinion, as much as he qualifies professionally and in terms of experience, we have so many Kenyans who have the same qualifications, who could have been appointed for the same position. Why go to Ezra Chiloba, who had been there before? He has been associated with something that was really taking the country the wrong way. Why it not for the Supreme Court? And why it not for maybe for those who intervened and even the handshake? This country, I don't know where we could be. So I don't really think that it is good for us to keep on maybe recycling or bringing back people who have been in government. They have been involved in issues of integrity, issues of trust, and issues that tend to compromise their positions as public officers. Otherwise, he has been appointed. We have nothing to do as Kenyans. We will just wish him the best, and we hope that he doesn't occupy the position and allow himself to be used in the negative way.
But Mundala is saying that is very, very much good for the position.
He is good. He is good, but what happened in 2017 really put him in a bad position. In a bad position.
Okay. Well, Mundala, you have.
I don't see what happened that put Ezra in a bad position from this angle. We have positions that once you take up, you cannot shy away from controversy. Controversy will always come around that position, no matter what you do. Yeah, it's like taking need to be in charge of now the embattled Kenya Film Classification Board. It's a position that will always come with some controversy here and there because you'll run through the fingers of some people.
Sure.
To me, Ezra was in charge of, and he was the CEO. Not even the chair. And this was an election. An election will always have a winner, a loser, and a complainer. There will always be someone who will not agree with the results of an election.
But
in as much as I do not wish to say that those who complained about the results were not right. But what I'm saying is, what is the position, what is the work of a CEO? We have to look at it that way. The principal mandate of a chief executive officer, his mandate is to steer the organization, which he did. We did not have cases whereby there is a failure from the secretariat wing. When we talk about controversy in terms of maybe the election and what was announced, that becomes the chairman's issue. But just in terms of steering an organization to achieve its objectives, I think Ezra did quite a good job. He recruited right, he had a functioning personnel, he had budgets, he was able to ensure he had his procurements in good time. Plus, he stood by, you remember the election time very well, Eugene. A time came when we were not seeing the chairman.
Sure.
A time came when we were not seeing the chairman at all. And Ezra had to stand into that gap.
Now,
to me, that is taking responsibility.
Nabe, let me ask you this. You are talking about electoral integrity, and about the question, and that begs the question, the EACC and NCCK are forming an anti-graft crusade. Amongst also some leaders have joined in a conversation to bar those leaders who have been involved in graft cases not to vie for offices. What do you think about this, generally? Should they be barred from taking office?
I want to say that is a good initiative because we really need to up our skills in terms of the fight against corruption. And it starts at the stage of who are we allowing to go to the ballot. Because once IEBC, EACC, and all those agencies clear these people, you now allow the members of the public to vote for them. But if there is a way in which IEBC, EACC, DCI, and all the agencies in charge can be able to sieve them out before we take them to the ballot, that is a welcome idea. Only that now, are we going to bar people from vying on mere speculations? that because somebody mentioned, a media house announced something about your department, something got lost, you have not been taken to court, you have not been convicted, are we going to bar them because of just a media pronunciation? I don't think that should be the way. I think we can have a way of doing it. Maybe if the regulations or the law that they are proposing is going to say that if you have been convicted or if you are facing graft charges in court and the case is so strong that maybe it has gone to the next stage where charges have been confirmed, then you should not be allowed to vie. That would be good. Otherwise, it should not be something about maybe to be used to maybe fight political wars or something. I welcome the idea.
Mr. Mundalo, what do you think about that?
I think I agree that it's very welcome because we are supposed to start running away from having a country where someone has a litany of crime, but then that person is the one who is in charge of ensuring that we don't have crime in the country. It doesn't make sense. But then again, as he puts it, we must be careful enough not to use it as a weapon so that we do not now weaponize and say, tomorrow if I'm running against him and I don't want him to be on the ballot because he's about to beat me, I pay a media house, then it taints his image, then he's gotten off ballot. So it is something that is welcome, but the process of actualization must be very specific so that we get it very correctly. Otherwise, it will create more chaos than the chaos that already exists.
Does it answer the challenges that we are facing right now, the leadership challenges? Because people are voting in leaders that are...
Our leadership challenges are many.
Yes.
And one of the problems we also have is we keep thinking our leadership problems are because of the leaders. Okay. Not remembering that the leaders become because we give them authority to become. There is no leader who is in parliament or wherever because they took themselves there. These people are all taken there by the people. And we also have to be also conscious of the reality that we have some leaders who are doing a very good job. The problem sometimes is we have weaponized all elected leaders and made them look like they are the worst human beings ever.
Yes.
When you can look, Eugene, at the corruption cases in the country and the level of corruption in government, you'll be shocked to realize that the elected leaders only are about accrue to up to about 3% or 2% of the corruption. Most of this corruption is not among these elected leaders. This corruption is in parastatals, it is in government state agencies, that's where it is. But the problem is we have made it look like the problem of the country is in elected leadership. And the only way to get it right is to get rid of elected leadership. I think it's a wrong perception all the same, but it's the right thing to do in terms of trying to ensure that people who get into office have a level of integrity. Up to there, we agree. I agree, and it's a step in the right direction. But we must be conscious enough not to make it a weapon of mass destruction for other people that we don't believe in.
Okay. One final question on this case, Mr. Manaibe. Does this have maybe any legal grounds, maybe how it can be mitigated some other way apart from just barring these people from leadership positions?
I think already we have a legal framework that should allow EACC to deny these people clearances. EACC is one of the agencies where, as an aspirant, you are supposed to go for clearance, and they have a way of scrutinizing you, including the cases you are facing, and giving you a certificate. So I think even without what they are doing at the moment, we have a framework that guides that. Chapter 6 of the Constitution, we have the Leadership and Integrity Act.
But how can the EACC then not clear you when you've not been convicted yet, as you were saying earlier? Because you cannot be you cannot be cleared by the EACC if you only have some cases. Maybe
I think the challenge they are trying to fix at the moment is that EACC has been given, I think it has been restricted in terms of how they clear them. they are told unless somebody has been convicted, they are supposed to be allowed to vie. So if they can fix that by amending the relevant statutes, that would be now enough for IEBC to be able to look at, maybe to look into the cases they are facing. If they have not been convicted, how weighty are the cases? Is it enough, does it form enough threshold for them to be barred from vying? But at the moment, we as I said, IEBC has a mandate, which I think, in my opinion, if they interpret the law correctly and they really want to fix this issue, they still have the room to stop them, to deny them clearances.
Okay, Mr. Mundalo, maybe as you answer also, as give maybe a rejoinder, kindly, what do you think about, we have the DCIO is in investigating of issues of these leaders, and of course we also have the DPPs, that is the the Director of Public Prosecution, and we get to understand that the DCIO cannot prosecute someone. That is the work of the DPP. What do you think about that? And there's so many cases at the DPP's office that have been brought in by the DCIO which have not been effected at the court.
Eugene, the process of stopping someone from running for office in Kenya is practically impossible. It has been made impossible by the people who make the law. The law exists, as Wakili puts it. But you can even see from his own explanation that he cannot put the pieces together. It is a very complicated thing that cannot necessarily be led up to the end. It is practically impossible to stop anyone from running for office in Kenya for as long as those people have the might. This is a country where we have had people come from prison to be elected. If someone can come from prison and these allegations, and we can even talk about it in the street and say, you see what? You see Mike Sonko ran away from prison. Whether that is true or not, I even don't know. But we have that and we talk about it and nothing is done about it. And this person comes out and he runs for office and he wins election and he goes on. That is the kind of country we have. So that is simply to tell you that the process of ensuring that somebody does not run for office on the grounds of corruption is impossible. And that's why every other arm that is supposed to do this work is left with nothing else but to do drama. Whereby the DCI can only go and do dramatic arrests. Because you Kenyans want to see them do something. But the truth is there is really practically nothing very serious they can do. So the best thing they can do is to do a dramatic arrest and look like they are working. Then others will come up and say, start behaving like school prefects that they are giving us a list of shame. You see, that's not why we should be paying people in the office to sit and just compile. Honestly, why should we have a whole body to compile a list of shame? That is something we could just write somewhere in the street. But to answer your question,
yes,
the process of stopping a candidate from running on the ground of corruption is practically impossible in Kenya.
Okay, thank you so much. We are going for a short break, but we are going to be right back after a short break. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to The Insight. You can continue conversing with us at GBS TV Africa, at Gideon Moi, on all our social media platforms. You can also use our SMS line, that is 21144. And of course, you continue to interact with us, with my guest here on the show. Of course, we are talking about politics, the backdrops of the 2022 succession politics. And let me start with you, Mr. Naibe, again. Baringo Senator Gideon Moi has just launched his presidential bid, that is 2022. So we had Raila Odinga also as the chief guest, and also in attendance was Mudavadi Kalonzo, amongst other leaders. What do you think about this itself? Does it have any political significance, having Raila also believed to be a top contender in the 2022 race to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. We have Mudavadi and Kalonzo also there. What do you think? And how does it even affect One Kenya Alliance? Because Mudavadi and Kalonzo have also said that they actually are going to vie for the top seat.
Eugene, thank you. I think the move by Gideon Moi to launch his presidential bid, even as discussions were still ongoing about the OCA alliance, I think it speaks a lot in terms of what OCA was really about and what is happening on the ground. I think this is just a bargaining effort he's making. He wants to make himself a presidential candidate to increase his chances at the bargaining table. Otherwise, I don't think it has a major political significance in terms of how our national politics is shaping up. Because Gideon Moi is just the name Moi. Otherwise, in terms of influence, huko nyumbani, I don't think that is a presidential material. So whatever they are doing is just to increase their chances in at the table, and then to maybe to communicate something to the other side, considering that Raila Odinga was present, OCA members were present who are also insisting that they are presidential candidates, and they look like they are one. So I think it is just to communicate, to say that this is one side and there is another side led by Ruto. Otherwise, I don't think it is a serious announcement that Kenyans should maybe worry about or start discussing, because tomorrow we will see Kalonzo launching his. We've seen Mudavadi campaigning. We've seen Wetangula threatening to vie for president. So I don't think all these guys are serious. I think they are just increasing their chances of bargaining. Yes. Eventually they will back Raila.
Mr. Mundalo, you said earlier that there is nothing that happens in the political scene that is a coincidence.
Yeah.
There must be a significance for it.
Yeah.
We have seen Baringo Senator Gideon Moi. He has launched his bid for presidency 2022. Yeah. We have Raila as the chief guest. We have Mudavadi, Kalonzo, amongst other leaders there. What do you think about this? Is it increasing their stake? Are they increasing their stake in the table? Or what do you think about it? Or is there something that they're communicating to us?
Okay, so nothing in politics really happens as a coincidence, as I told you earlier. And the bid by Gideon Moi that is coming up right now is a strategy that has always been there. My problem is why they have always insisted on this tired strategy, because we have gotten to a point where even Kenyans know it's a strategy. Like they know tomorrow Kalonzo will also launch his campaign. It has become so tired a strategy, everyone knows it is just a strategy. But then, give it to them. They have tried. It has been long since KANU did something that carried a lot of weight. For once, they have tried. They had some optics. But I would want to look at it more as Gideon's bid for the presidency of this country, not necessarily in 2022. This is Gideon being nationalized. This is Gideon being baptized from being a Baringo-based person to a national person. This is Gideon being elevated into the shoe of his father. That is exactly what this coronation was about. And when you look at the people who attended this event, this is basically the team that is on one side against the team that is on the other side. If it's true that every other person who is running for president was invited and they all had to go, why wasn't William Ruto there? If it's true that it was just about a launch and everyone was invited, then why wasn't, I don't know who else has launched their bid for president. They would all be there. But this is a union of convenience. The people who are in the one camp were the ones who were there. But because when you're in politics, there are so many interests, there is a reason why everyone must launch their bid. Because Kalonzo Musyoka must convince the people in Ukambani that he's presidential material. When he just wakes up and goes to support Raila from the onset, he loses his ground. He must look like he's wrestling it for some time before he then looks like now he's bulging out. But he cannot just start by bulging. So that is what is just being done here. To me, this is the launch of Gideon Moi for the presidency of Kenya, not necessarily in 2022, but sometime to come.
Well, Mr. Naibei, Raila Amolo Odinga, also believed to be a major contender in the Uhuru succession game plan in 2022, has made inroads, several inroads actually, to the Mount Kenya region, which we believe and we know very much that has got so many number of voters there. So this time round, we have seen, of course, Raila making inroads, and of course, yes, just the other day, we were seeing Raila Amolo Odinga at Safari Park with other leaders from the Mount Kenya. Do you think that actually this is going, we are now seeing a Mount Kenya that is accepting a Raila presidency? And apart from that also, you can talk about Ruto. Ruto has been campaigning in the Mount Kenya for now quite a long time. Has maybe the inroads of Raila Amolo Odinga affected or changed the influence of William Ruto? What do you think about that, sir?
Eugene, I concede that Ruto has made a lot of, he has put in a lot of effort from 2018 up to now in terms of trying to reach Mount Kenya and to ensure that the support that they got as a pair, him and Uhuru Kenyatta, he maintains it. Mm-hmm. But what Raila has started doing, I think it is true that he has infiltrated and he has somehow started destroying the gains that Ruto might have made from 2018. Mm-hmm. Our politics is structured such that, of course, we had a traditional support base for Raila Odinga, mm-hmm. and a traditional region which has consistently rejected him, mm-hmm. for reasons that are not always not justified, but they are real on the ground. Mm-hmm. What Raila is doing currently, I think he has made a lot of effort, mm-hmm. to rewrite that history, mm-hmm. and to project himself as somebody who is actually keen on protecting their interests. Mm-hmm. William Ruto might still want to insist on getting the support of Mount Kenya, mm-hmm. but I want to believe that he will not get the kind of support that he had from 2013, mm-hmm. up to now. Okay. And what does that mean? It might mean that he will have to go to other regions also, mm-hmm. maybe to get to now create a new base of support, mm-hmm. as UDA and as his team, mm-hmm. Which is now clear that it is him versus Raila Odinga. Okay. Personally, I don't believe in this kind of politics where we have categorized the country. Mm-hmm. That this is, for instance, when we say that Ruto needs 80% of Mount Kenya, mm-hmm. to win, mm-hmm. we are saying that he already has support from Rift Valley, 100%. Mm-hmm. And we are saying that he has supporters who are just ready to support him, mm-hmm. without considering his manifesto, mm-hmm. considering the agenda he's trying to sell. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, we are also saying that Raila, mm-hmm. has a support in Nyanza, mm-hmm. that is not affected, maybe Western, mm-hmm. Coast, wherever he has been getting support from. Mm-hmm. That should not be the case. Ideally, we should be competing on ideas, mm-hmm. Maybe considering what somebody is bringing to the table. Mm-hmm. But this is Kenya, mm-hmm. where we are tribal in, okay. nature, and we are also, I think we are just divided. Okay. We have other options, which I think would be better. Okay. We have candidates, fresh candidates like Ruben Kigame. Mm-hmm. Kenyans are not listening to them. I don't know why.
Okay. Mr. Mundalo, well, maybe you can chip in and, of course, tell us that, do you believe that the image of Raila in Mount Kenya that has been tainted for a very long time now, can they do something that, of course, right now to maybe sell Raila, to make Raila sellable in Mount Kenya, that can outdo the influence of William Ruto, the deputy president?
First of all, we have to come from the background of the understanding, mm-hmm. that the narrative that has been peddled that Raila Odinga is unsellable, mm-hmm. in Mount Kenya has always been a narrative to help someone win election. Mm-hmm. It has not always had any basis of fact. Mm-hmm. And that is where the problem is. Mm-hmm. It has not always had any justifiable reasons. Mm-hmm. Now, when push comes to shove, now you need justifiable reasons. Mm-hmm. And these reasons are what are now not there. Mm-hmm. Actually, there are more reasons why he should sell, mm-hmm. than otherwise. Mm-hmm. And when we come to political strategy in itself, mm-hmm. all the time I have been sitting on these panels, I've always given unsolicited advice to the Deputy President that he would have given the effort he gives Mount Kenya, he would have given that effort to Western Kenya. Because Mount Kenya is a region that understands power dynamics. Mount Kenya is a region that will not be gullible. Mount Kenya is a region that understands the cost of being out of power and the cost of being in power. And therefore, there is no chance that they are going to give a 50-50 chance. They are going to be only on one direction. This is a region that has no history of saying it has this percentage that today they went. Even when they had two Kikuyus vying, when they had Kibaki and Peter Kenneth, we did not see Mount Kenya split. What is this that makes William Ruto believe that it will split because of the Kalenjin and Nyanza? It is not going to work that way. So, in my view...
And Mundalo, why are you talking as if they're going to choose Raila and not Ruto this time?
Because I'm not saying they will choose Raila, but I'm saying the dice, as it is today, we can see where the weight of Mount Kenya is. Raila Odinga has been in Mount Kenya for 4 days. Is it 4 days, I think? We are already discussing his infiltration and how it has already affected William Ruto, who has been in Mount Kenya since 2017. 4 days of Raila Odinga have already diminished the presence of William Ruto in that Mount Kenya. That's already a problem. Look at it this way. Raila Odinga always, in all these elections, even when running against Uhuru Kenyatta, has always had above 20% of Mount Kenya vote. Even when he was demonized, he has always had that chunk that has supported him from Mount Kenya. Now, what about this time when, one, he is not being demonized? We even don't need, Raila Odinga does not necessarily even need Uhuru Kenyatta or others to support him. He just needs them not to demonize him. And when they don't demonize him, we can be able to see how much percentage he can be able to improve on that. So I agree that Raila Odinga has infiltrated Mount Kenya, and William Ruto should be worried. He should maybe rethink his strategy, because the most difficult thing in politics as well is when you start your campaign too early, because the voter gets something called voter fatigue. Because they get used to you. When they get used to you, they start wanting something new. That is always the problem. They will always want something new. Even when you are raising a child, Eugene, between you and your wife, whoever travels and keeps coming after some time becomes the most interesting person to the child, not knowing that this other parent has been there throughout. And that is the whole essence here. Mount Kenya has gotten too used to William Ruto. He has nothing new to offer them. Now, Raila Odinga is so new. They would obviously want to listen to him here and there. So, in as much as it's not done, if elections was held tomorrow, I'm sure William Ruto still is ahead of Raila Odinga. The problem is that, one, there is no election tomorrow. And the other problem is that the vote that Raila Odinga will get tomorrow is higher than what he would have gotten 2 weeks ago. That is where the problem is, and that's what William Ruto should now start recentering and refocusing his energies. Things are not as good and as rosy as they were before.
Well, currently there have been, if you look at how Ruto conducts his campaigns, it is through the Mawambogas and through the border riders, and because he does an open air market campaign.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Raila Amolo Odinga, he does is through the billionaires who now we have got different kinds of people, the businessmen.
Yeah.
Who
it's a
now,
targeted campaign.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we call it a boardroom campaign. What do you think between the boardroom campaign and the open air market campaign, if I should call it so, which one is going to win this time round? If I can start with IEBC.
I think that question is not proper, in that you are assuming that these boardroom guys are not connected to the people who are at the ground, the Mamambogas, etc. I believe that both strategies will work, and at the end of it, all of them will try to reach the voters on the ground. Only that what Raila is doing is trying to get their support in terms of listening to them and maybe getting to know their interests, because these are people who represent the people from the ground. They are professionals. they are elites from the communities. They come from those villages. They have roots in the villages. So whatever they present to him at the boardroom are actually the voices they will take back to the people. So that when he goes there eventually to campaign, because we are not even in campaign, we have not started campaigning. Ideally, they are supposed to start campaigning 3 months to, I think 3 months to the elections. When that time comes, he can now go on a full-time basis, the way Ruto is doing. On the other hand, Ruto is saying that he wants to deal with Mama Mboga, boda at the ground level, so that, because those are the people that matter. But at the end of it, he is also, if you look at the social media, every day you see UDA inviting aspirants to meet William Ruto at his residence, and he has been having a series of meetings. So essentially, he's combining both, only that he started with Mama Mbogas. Eventually, all of them are going to campaign. Yeah.
Well, Mundalo, maybe you can give maybe talk about it a bit.
I think William Ruto is not doing both, because when William Ruto is meeting the same people very many times. Yeah, because you see him meeting Rigathi Gachagua, they say he's meeting Mount Kenya leaders. 2 days later, he's again meeting the same Rigathi Gachagua, and they're saying again he's meeting other Mount Kenya leaders. So to me, and I also don't agree that Raila Odinga is stuck on boardroom.
Okay.
Politics is about planning and then execution. When you go to a region, you must first of all synergize with the interests and the needs of the region. That is what Raila is getting right.
Okay.
When he gets to Mount Kenya, he synergizes and understands the needs of these people, meets their stakeholders, because every community has their leaders. You are not going to ignore the reality of their leadership and just walk straight to them. It's not going to work. And that's why he's starting at that level. And after he finishes that, he's now going down now to the people.
Okay.
And we've seen him do both.
Yes.
He starts with meeting these the leaders, then he gets now to the ground and meets the people. Unlike William Ruto, who meets people where they are. And therefore, there is no, let me tell you, if you just take 5 great cars here, put a siren on top and go to Githurai and stand on top of the vehicle, you'll have a crowd.
Yes, sure.
So William Ruto goes where crowds already are, then he calls those numbers. Those are not numbers. Numbers are when we have people who came to deliberately listen to you because they heard that you are coming, and they have come there to listen because they want to hear what you have to say and maybe even critique it, whether they agree with you or not, but they came for that reason. But you cannot come here and go to Gikomba, where people already, we have people in Gikomba right now, already. So when you just go to Gikomba, put up a vehicle, then stand on top of it, trust me, people will assemble there. So you can't do that, then you call those numbers, and that's the problem. Ruto is hell-bent on doing a perception campaign. Raila is hell-bent on doing a realistic campaign.
Okay, Mr. Naibe, is there shift in the political narrative from inter-ethnic to inter-class competition? And don't you think that maybe this is more dangerous than even the inter-ethnic narrative?
I don't think there is a shift. What is happening is Ruto is trying to say that we are changing the conversation from ethnicity to now issues of empowerment and economic models. But ideally, what we are doing is we are just delaying it, because eventually the support that Ruto is hanging on, like his inroads in Mount Kenya, speaks a lot in terms of what he is targeting. The number of trips he makes to Mount Kenya compared to other regions is so huge, such that you will know he is intending to get, is targeting this ethnic group, not even the borders, the Mama Mbogas, because these people are found elsewhere. We have borders in Rift Valley, we have them in Nyanza, we have them in Coast. Ruto has gone to Mount Kenya purposely to get the ethnic bloc. So I don't think the conversation has changed because of the bottom-up economic approach.
Okay.
But what I will agree is that maybe going towards 2022, the ethnic card might not play a big role, considering the handshake, what the handshake did. Because initially it used to be Raila leads a section of Kenyans, and then the other side, together with Mount Kenya are on the other side.
Okay.
So this time round, Raila and Uhuru Kenyatta are bringing together Mount Kenya and Nyanza. So we are not likely to have heated ethnic profiling or something of the sort.
Okay.
This time round, it might be about personalities.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Mundalo advice.
Yeah.
Well, there's this question that I'd love you to tackle, even as we are almost getting at the end of the show. Well, there have been a talk about the deep state, and recently we had even some a governor talking about that the deep state is there and might even be deeper than deep. What do you think about this? And even as we're preparing towards 2022, do you think that already the deep state, the so-called deep state, has already they already have their candidate, and we are just waiting for an event as an election, of course, where the president then will communicate to us because it's already there.
I wish for a country whereby the results of a democratic process
Yes.
are upheld. I wish for a country whereby when the people go out there to vote for their leader, then we are sure that at the end of the day, the one with the popular, the one who is popular, the one with the highest number of votes will become. But again, I must be realistic to the facts that exist, that we live in a world that has systems. And we have seen the wishes of the majority not come to be true, not once, but in many instances. That there are systems that tend to run a country. And as it stands, it is not very right, and it is not very proper for anyone in politics to entirely ignore the reality of this thing called the deep state. Because we have seen times when we all believed that someone has won election, but they did not become. And that is the reality.
Okay.
So right now we cannot get to this point, then we want to ignore and say it doesn't exist. In as much as I've never seen it, I've never attended a meeting where they told me, now this is Eugene, he's a member of the deep state, and this another one is the chair of the deep state. I have never seen them. But I don't want to entirely ignore the existence of this, because I have seen these systems work, and I have seen situations whereby even wishes of the people have not come to be, because there are some kind of systems that run a country. So I don't disagree that it could be that it's true.
Okay, as we end the show, I'd love to get your closing remarks. I'll start with you, Sir Eric Naibei. Well, which one is a more urgent crisis that should concern the Kenyan voter? Is it the leadership crisis or the economic crisis? And which one should take precedence in this? What do you think?
I think both should be considered, in the sense that whoever runs the economy, whoever decides how the economy goes, is the leaders, the leaders that we put in office. At the moment, even if Kenyans were to say that we want to revolve center our conversations around economics and how we will improve economically, whoever is in charge of implementing all these are the leaders we have put in place. So we must discuss both. We must discuss how we are going to change our leadership. At the same time, we must raise these issues that touch on our economy.
Okay, what is your closing remarks?
Kenyans should remain focused, we should remain united, and we should not be dissuaded by these political undertakings that we are witnessing at the national level. Let's remain united. Let's listen to all of them, and let reason prevail in every situation. We should not allow previous situations of ethnic balkanization and even leading to violence to be witnessed as we go towards 2022. Let's just focus. Let everybody concentrate on their role.
Mr. Mundalo.
Yes. I think on your first question on what should the Kenyan voter basically look at.
Yes.
In my view, I would urge the Kenyan voter to be a selfish voter. That at the end of the day, the voter should look at their interests. What are your interests in this election? Because the person who is coming to you to seek your vote is looking at his own interests first. There is no leader who goes out there to seek election with his first interest being the people. No, no, no. His first interest is himself first, then the people. Yeah? So the Kenyan voter should also go out there to vote, but the first interest should be yourself first. That you are putting in this leader. When you are voting for this Eugene, are you so sure that this Eugene takes care of your interests and that you will not complain for 5 years? But if you are going to vote in someone and then start complaining, then you'll be entirely misguided. And then maybe on my closing remarks, I agree with what my brother has said about the voter and us as Kenyans remaining peaceful and doing things in the correct way. I think so far we are doing very well, and we should not derail from that. So far I've seen instances where every time that there was need to be violence in an election, be it a by-election, the people who have ended up fighting have always been the leaders. Let us continue with that trend, that Kenyans will not fight, and if you must fight about anything, then let the leaders fight themselves. I think that will be good enough.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for honoring my invite, and of course, you watching us back at home. It has been a candid conversation with Mundalo Advice, who is a communications and political strategist, as well as Eric Nebei, who is an advocate of the High Court, as well as a political pundit, if I could say so. So, well, on behalf of everyone who has made this a success, the technical team and everyone else, I would love to wish you a very beautiful weekend, and let's meet next week on Friday at 8 p.m. on GBS TV Africa, only on The Insight, but of course where we give insights on political issues and current affairs. My name is Gideon Moi. Till next Friday.